Radical.
Kyrie Irving has been fined $25,000 for not wanting to talk to the sports media. The NBA requires that healthy players be made available to reporters before or after games and practices. Typically, the league also has teams set aside one day at the beginning of training camp for every player on the roster, as well as the general manager and coach to speak to reporters. You know, when I read this, I thought, that's a bit harsh. $25,000 for not wanting to talk to the media? You know, part of me said, well, fuck the media. You know, why should you be required to talk to the media? It's kind of crazy. But apparently, it's within your contract that you sign up as a player for the NBA. You know, you sign on that dotted line. It's part of the contract that you have to talk to the media. Now, a lot of people are saying, hey, you know what? Just do like Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch literally would show up and say, you know, I'm only here because I get fined if I'm not here. Hey, it's part of the job. A lot of us, you know, we have things that we have to do at our jobs that, you know, we really don't want to do. But when you sign on that dotted line, you have to. Don't bitch, don't cry, don't moan about it. That's my take on it. Now, do I think that the sports media, do I agree with the sports media sometimes when they, you know, needle into things that really have nothing to do with the actual sports, you know? Yeah, I can see that, right? I think the sports media should focus more on maybe injuries, you know, that happen and, you know, real things that happen basically, and not all this stuff that happens between players talking about other players or Instagram tweets or all that kind of bullshit. I think the job of sports media should be actually to analyze the teams, you know, how they're going to do good or bad in the year, maybe give their thoughts on trades that should be made. You know, they could give their thoughts on contracts if they're overpaying certain players, you know, things like that that actually relate to the actual sports. But it seems like a lot of sports media, like 70, 80, 85, 90% of sports media right now, mainstream sports media, doesn't even talk about that shit. And they want to focus on all the stuff that's happening with the players and their Instagram tweets and the Twitter and all that kind of bullshit. You know, so I don't agree with that. That being said, though, Kyrie Irving has said some crazy fucking shit in the past. This guy, he debates now whether or not he was a flat earther. All right. OK, we're not talking about, you know, just throwing shade at another player. We're talking about a guy that went to Duke, a guy that went to Duke that supposedly is a great intellectual, not really sure about, you know, the earth. He says that, hey, there were no real pictures of the Earth outside of maybe like the late 60s when, you know, you went to the moon or some crazy shit. Right. So he's kind of like one of those, you know, conspiratorial, like very high intellectual people, but not smart. You know what I'm talking about? People that are very intellectual, well read, but in some ways kind of a fucking dumbass. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that just sticks out. And I can see how that kind of guy doesn't want to talk to media. And it's fair to say, like I said, that media sometimes they'll focus on things that really have absolutely nothing to do with the basketball games. A lot of the media would be asking Kyrie about recent statements he made about joining up with KD and how, well, he threw shade at LeBron James, a person, by the way. I mean, I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan, but I think we can all agree that Kyrie would not be Kyrie if it were not for playing with LeBron James. Yeah, Kyrie hit a game-winning shot, but you would have not even got to that point if you were not playing with one of the, you know, top 5, top 10, you know, easily top 10, maybe top 5 greatest players to ever play the game. Love or hate him, LeBron is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. If you were not playing with that guy, Kyrie, you would not be Kyrie Irving. OK, no one would give a shit about really Kyrie Irving if it wasn't for, let's be honest here, if it wasn't for those years you had with LeBron James. Not saying Kyrie is not talented. The man is very talented, right? But, you know, people wouldn't be clawing to get Kyrie Irving if it wasn't for that, you know, those years with LeBron. And he did hit a beautiful game-winning shot. And he says it's nice to be with somebody that can hit that clutch shot in a moment now. You know, again, insulting LeBron James. Might be a little bit of salt, you know, over maybe LeBron James getting his 4th ring. Okay. I mean, might be a little bit of salt over that. And he's not a part of it. I don't know. Okay. They obviously have some issues. I think Kyrie's problem is he has a big fucking ego, you know, and he's talented, but he has a big fucking ego. And he's a bit of a guy that I don't think is good for locker rooms. Okay, and look at the effect he has on certain teams, for instance. There were times where Boston actually played better without him on the fucking court. So that's a sign that, you know, your guy really doesn't, sometimes he doesn't fit well into teams. Now he's in Brooklyn right now. So a lot of people are going to ask questions about, hey, how well do you think you'll fit into this team? How do you think you'll do with Durant? And yes, many people will ask him questions. You know, maybe from the past, like, hey, do you still think the earth is flat, dude? Do you still think it is? And that might be unfair. But here's the thing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you look at this. He signed, like I said, a fucking contract to talk to the media. The media is part of the reason there is a Kyrie Irving. The media is part of the reason he can actually sell his fucking shoes. Imagine a scenario to where there was no media, no sports media. No one was talking about the NFL games. No one was talking about the NBA games. The games just happen. And Kyrie Irving once said, maybe the players should get away from the NBA and start their own league. Okay, so then what happens, Kyrie? There's no media for that. No one talks about the games. Okay, it'd be the equivalent of basically just some guys playing on a court and no one's covering it, you know? So I think the media works hand in hand with the actual players, and these are actually, in some cases, in some ways, larger than life celebrities. Do you think there would be a Space Jam or a Space Jam 2 if it wasn't for the sports media? So there should be fair sports media, okay? There should be fair sports media, but, you know, I'm saying is they work hand in hand. And you sign that fucking contract, you put your name on that dotted line to actually do what everyone else does. I'm going to talk about what actually Kyrie Irving said, his statement, okay, to finish this one out. Kyrie Irving, I pray we utilize the fine money for the marginalized communities in need, especially seeing where our world is presently. I am here for peace, love, and greatness. So stop distracting me and my team and appreciate the art. We move differently over here. I do not talk to pawns. My attention is worth more. Okay, you start out pretty well on that, right? You pray that the fine money is utilized for the communities in need. And a big part of that fine money, here's a positive, actually goes to charities. That's a great thing. But he's trying to set this up here to where, well, you see what he's doing here? I pray we utilize. You start out by praying, right? You know, praying in this comment. But a couple lines into it, you talk about your greatness and how people should appreciate your art, you know, and you don't talk to pawns. You start out pretty well on that, but you ended up saying you don't talk to pawns, as if all these other people that talk about sports are just below you, beneath you. To refer to other people as pawns, very, very talented and skilled commentators on things like the NBA, the NFL, or anything else. You are not that guy to talk down to other people. You know why you're not that guy to talk down to other people, Kyrie Irving? Because you're not quite sure if the earth is flat or not, you dumb fuck. Probably going to trigger a lot of Kyrie Irving fans here, but oh well.